The first thing Nora noticed was the silence. Not the normal quiet of a morning lake. This was different. It felt like the air itself was holding its breath, like the trees and the water were waiting for something to happen. Nora stood at the edge of the narrow path, one hand wrapped around the strap of her small backpack. The lake stretched out in front of her like a sheet of dark glass. A thin mist floated above it, moving slowly, as if it was searching. And there, just beyond the reeds and the leaning willow trees, the old house waited. It did not look welcoming. It did not look friendly. It looked like it had been forgotten on purpose. The roof sagged in the middle. One side of the porch had dropped lower than the other. The windows were dull, like tired eyes. Even from far away, Nora could see the front door was slightly open, just enough to look like someone left in a hurry, or like someone wanted her to come closer. Nora swallowed. She told herself she was only here to explore. She had done this before. She liked old places, the kind of places people ignored. She liked how stories lived in them, hidden in dust and old wood. And lately, she needed something to pull her mind away from the same heavy thoughts that followed her everywhere. So she stepped forward. The path was wet and soft, and her shoes sank into the ground with quiet sounds. Every few steps, she looked over her shoulder, even though she did not know why. There was nobody behind her. No cars. No voices. Only the faint splash of a fish in the distance. When she reached the porch, she stopped. The wooden boards were cracked. Some nails stuck out like sharp teeth. The door was right in front of her, and the gap was still there, the same small opening. Nora leaned in and pushed the door gently. It creaked, loud and long, a sound that seemed to travel across the lake. Inside, the air smelled old, like damp paper and cold stone. Nora stepped in and waited for her eyes to adjust. Light fell through the curtains in thin lines, cutting the dusty air into stripes. The house was not fully empty. That was what made her heart beat faster. There was furniture. A small table near the window. A chair pushed back as if someone stood up quickly. A coat hanging on a hook, stiff with age. It looked like life had stopped in the middle of a normal day. Nora moved slowly, careful where she placed her feet. The floor made small groans under her weight. She kept her hand near her phone, not because she planned to call anyone, but because it made her feel less alone. She entered the living room. A rug lay crooked on the floor. An old lamp stood beside a sofa covered with a faded sheet. On the wall, a picture frame hung slightly tilted. Nora lifted the sheet and saw the sofa was still in good shape, like it had been protected for years. "Why would someone cover this?" she whispered. Her voice sounded strange in the quiet, like it did not belong there. Nora walked closer to the picture frame and straightened it. Dust fell, and she coughed softly. The photo inside made her pause. It was a family picture. A man, a woman, and a little girl standing by this same lake, smiling like the world was safe. The little girl had dark hair and a small gap between her front teeth. She looked about 6 years old. Nora stared for a long time. Something about the girl felt familiar. Not like she knew her, but like she had seen her face in a dream, or in a memory that was not fully hers. Nora rubbed the back of her neck and stepped away. She told herself it was nothing. People took pictures like that all the time. Still, her stomach felt tight. She moved toward the hallway. The wallpaper was peeling. The air grew colder, and Nora could feel it on her arms. She passed a door that was partly closed, and without thinking too much, she pushed it open. A bedroom. The bed was made neatly, as if someone cared. On the dresser, a small brush sat beside a mirror. Nora leaned toward the mirror and saw her own face, pale in the dim light. Then her eyes shifted to the side. On the dresser were 3 small items, a silver locket, a folded note, and a key. Nora's breath caught. It was not the key that made her freeze. It was the locket. Because she had seen one exactly like it before. Or at least, she thought she had. Nora reached out slowly and picked it up. The silver was dull, but not broken. It felt heavier than she expected. Her fingers traced the tiny design on the front, a small flower with 3 petals. Her hands began to shake without her permission. Nora pulled her backpack off her shoulder and sat on the edge of the bed carefully, as if the room might collapse from one wrong move. She opened the locket. Inside were 2 photos. The first photo was the same little girl from the living room picture. The second photo was something that made Nora's blood turn cold. It was Nora. Not a recent picture. A childhood photo. Nora looked about 6 years old, the same age as the other girl. Her hair was tied back, and she wore a yellow shirt with a tiny star on it. Nora stared until her eyes hurt. Her chest tightened so fast she had to press her hand against it. "This is not real," she whispered. But it was real. The face in the photo was hers. The gap between the front teeth. The shape of the eyebrows. The small scar near the chin from when she fell off her bicycle as a kid. Nora's mouth went dry. She forced herself to set the locket down and grabbed the folded note beside it. The paper was thick, slightly yellow at the edges. The handwriting was neat, careful, and old. She unfolded it slowly, as if the words might bite her. "To the one who finds this, if you are reading this, you came back. That means the lake still remembers." The truth was hidden because it was safer that way, but safety has a price. Look under the stairs. Use the key. And if your name is Nora, breathe. You deserve the truth. Nora's fingers went numb. Her name. The note said her name. Her heart slammed in her chest. She looked around the room like someone might be watching her, like someone would step out and laugh and say it was a joke. But there was only the cold air and the quiet. Nora picked up the key. It was small, with a simple shape, but it had been cleaned, cared for. Someone wanted it to work. She stood up quickly, too quickly, and the floor creaked sharply. She froze and listened. Nothing. The silence stayed. Nora moved back into the hallway, the note and the key clutched tight in her hand. Her mind was racing, trying to connect pieces that did not fit. She had grown up in the city. Her mother, Lena, had always told her they had no family left. No old houses. No lake stories. Whenever Nora asked about her father, Lena would turn quiet and say, "That part is complicated." Nora remembered asking about her childhood, about early memories. Lena would smile and say, "You were little. You won't remember much." Now Nora wondered if that was a lie, or if Lena was trying to protect her from something. Nora reached the main room again and looked around. Under the stairs. That meant there must be a basement or storage space. She found the stairs near the kitchen. They went up to the second floor, but Nora did not go up. Instead, she crouched and looked under them. There was a small wooden panel built into the wall, almost hidden by shadow and dust. On the panel was a simple lock. Nora held the key up. Her fingers trembled so badly she nearly dropped it. She fit the key into the lock. For a second, it did not turn. Nora's throat tightened. She pushed gently, then harder. The key turned with a soft click. The lock opened. Nora pulled the panel toward her. It creaked but moved. Behind it was a narrow space, like a small closet built into the wall. Inside, there was not money. Not jewelry. Not anything dramatic like people imagined. There was a box. A plain wooden box with scratches on the top. Someone had written one word in black marker. Nora. Her knees felt weak. She sat down right there on the floor. Dust coated her pants, but she did not care. She reached in and dragged the box out. The box was heavier than it looked. Nora placed it on her lap and opened it. Inside were papers tied with a string. A small notebook. A photo album. And something else at the bottom, wrapped in cloth. Nora started with the papers. Her hands fumbled with the string until it loosened. The first page on top was a birth record. Nora's name was there. But the place of birth was not the city hospital she had always believed. It said, "Born near Lake Briar." Nora's eyes stung. She blinked hard, but the words stayed. She flipped to the next pages. They were letters. Some were addressed to someone named Lena. Others were addressed to someone named Mara. Nora's stomach twisted. She knew her mother's name was Lena, but she had never heard the name Mara before. She pulled out the notebook and opened it. The handwriting matched the note from the dresser. The first line made her stop breathing. "If I disappear, it is not because I left her. It is because they will not let me keep her." Nora's mouth fell open slightly. She kept reading, slowly, like each word weighed too much. The notebook spoke of fear. Of choices made in a rush. Of a lake that hid things and a town that did not forgive mistakes. It spoke of a woman who loved a child more than her own safety. Nora's vision blurred, and she wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She did not want to cry in this empty house, but she could not stop it. Then she reached a page that mentioned something that made her sit up straight. The child has two mothers. One by blood, one by promise. They agreed to protect her, but the promise broke when the truth became dangerous. Nora's mind snapped to attention. Two mothers. What did that even mean? She had always believed she had one mother, Lena, and an unknown father. She had never imagined anything like this. Nora's breathing got louder. She forced herself to keep reading. Near the back of the notebook was a list of dates. One date was circled hard, like the pen was pressed in anger. Next to that date were 3 words. Take her tonight. Nora felt cold from the inside out. She looked down into the box again, searching for more answers. Her fingers found the cloth-wrapped item at the bottom. It was folded neatly, as if someone packed it with care. She unwrapped it. A small bracelet fell into her palm. It was made of blue thread with a tiny silver bead in the center. Nora stared. She remembered this. She had worn it when she was little. She remembered playing with it, twisting the thread around her finger when she was nervous. She remembered her mother Lena taking it off one day and putting it in a drawer. Nora thought it had been lost. But it was here. In a box hidden in an old lake house. And suddenly, a memory hit her so hard she gasped. Not a full memory. More like a flash. The smell of lake water. The sound of someone whispering her name urgently. The feel of cold air on her cheeks. A woman's arms holding her tight. And a voice, not Lena's voice, saying, "Don't look back." Nora squeezed her eyes shut. Her heart was pounding like a drum. When she opened her eyes again, the house felt different. The air felt heavier. Like the walls were not just wood and paint anymore. Like they were keeping secrets, and now they were awake. Then she heard it. A sound from outside. Footsteps on the porch. Nora froze, clutching the bracelet in her fist. The footsteps were slow and steady. Someone was coming in. Nora held her breath and listened. The front door creaked again. And a voice, low and calm, called out into the house. "Hello." Nora's skin prickled. The voice sounded like it belonged here. And whoever it was, they did not sound surprised to find the door open. Nora's mind screamed one thought again and again. They know. She shoved the notebook and papers back into the box as fast as she could, hands shaking, breath shallow. She did not know whether to hide or to run, but she knew one thing. Whatever secret was inside this house was not finished with her yet. And now, someone else had stepped into the story. Nora pressed the box against her chest, eyes locked on the hallway, waiting for the person to appear. The footsteps moved closer. The shadows stretched long across the floor. And Nora realized her life might never go back to normal after this moment. Nora stayed still, holding the wooden box so tight her fingers ached. She did not even blink. The footsteps stopped in the main room, and the silence returned for a second, thick and sharp. Then a man's voice spoke again, calmer than before. "Anyone here? I'm not here to cause trouble." Nora's eyes moved to the kitchen doorway. The shadow on the floor shifted, as if the person was looking around. Nora tried to think fast. If she ran, the floor would creak. If she hid, the box would slow her down. If she stayed, she might learn the truth. Her heart kept beating hard, but her feet finally moved. She stepped into the living room slowly, keeping the box in front of her like a shield. A man stood near the doorway, tall and quiet, with a worn jacket and muddy boots. He looked like someone who spent more time outdoors than inside. His hair was dark with a little gray near the sides. His eyes focused on Nora right away, not surprised, not confused, almost like he expected her. He lifted both hands slightly, showing he carried nothing. "Okay," he said, gentle. "You're real." Nora's throat went tight. "Who are you?" The man took a small step back, giving her space. "My name is Ben." Nora did not lower the box. Why are you here? Ben looked at the house like it was an old memory he could not shake off. I come here sometimes. Not often. Just to check. To check what? Ben's eyes dropped to the box in Nora's hands. His expression changed. It was not anger. It was something heavier. Like regret. You found it, he said quietly. Nora's skin went cold. You know about this box? Ben nodded once. I helped hide it. Nora felt like the floor moved under her. Why would you hide a box with my name on it? Ben took a slow breath. Because someone wanted it gone. Nora's voice rose without her meaning to. Who? And why? Ben did not answer right away. Instead, he pointed toward the dusty sofa. Please sit. I can tell you. But it's a long story. And you shouldn't stand like you're about to run. Nora did not trust him, but her legs were shaking, and her mind felt messy. She sat carefully on the edge of the sofa, still holding the box. Ben stayed standing, as if he did not deserve to sit. Start, Nora said. Ben's jaw tightened. You shouldn't be here alone. That's not an answer. Ben gave a small nod, like he accepted her anger. Fair. Okay. I'll start simple. This house belonged to Mara. Nora's stomach flipped. Mara is in these letters. Ben's eyes softened. Yes. Mara lived here. She was strong, stubborn, the kind of person who didn't back away when people pushed. Nora held the box closer. Who was she to me? Ben looked at Nora as if the truth was a fragile thing. She was your mother, he said. Nora's mind rejected the words so fast it felt like a slap. No, Nora whispered. My mother is Lena. Ben nodded again, slow and careful. Lena raised you. Lena is your mother too, in a way. But Mara gave birth to you. Nora stared at him, her face pale. That makes no sense. It does, Ben said. Just not in the way you've known your whole life. Nora's hands began to tremble again. Prove it. Ben reached into his jacket slowly, and Nora stiffened, ready to stand. But he pulled out a thin wallet, not a weapon. He opened it and slid something out with 2 fingers. A photo, he said. You can decide what you believe after you see it. He placed the photo on the table from a distance, then stepped back. Nora leaned forward and picked it up. It showed 2 women standing by the lake, smiling but tired. One woman had soft features and kind eyes. That woman looked like Lena, only younger. The other woman had sharper cheekbones and a steady gaze. That woman was new to Nora, but the face felt familiar in a strange way, like the shape of it was hiding inside Nora's own. Between them, wrapped in a blanket, was a baby. On the back of the photo, written in the same neat handwriting, were the words, Nora, safe for now. Nora's breath broke into a shaky sound. Ben watched her carefully. That photo was taken here, the night before everything changed. Nora's voice was small. Why would Lena never tell me? Ben rubbed his forehead, as if the memory hurt. Because the truth was dangerous. And because Lena made a promise. A promise to who? To Mara, Ben said. To protect you no matter what. Nora's eyes burned. Protect me from what? Ben's gaze moved to the window, to the grey lake outside. From people who thought Mara had no right to keep you. Nora sat up straighter. People like who? Ben hesitated. Then he spoke. Mara's family, he said. And the town. Nora looked down at the notebook inside the box. The notebook says, take her tonight. Ben's face tightened. Yes. Nora felt a sudden rush of fear. They tried to take me. Ben nodded. They said Mara wasn't stable. They said she didn't have the money. They said she wasn't fit. But the real reason was worse. Nora leaned forward. Tell me. Ben swallowed. Mara found something. Something connected to the lake. Something that could ruin certain people. Nora's thoughts raced. Like what? Money. Crime. Ben shook his head. Not like that. It was more quiet, more hidden. The kind of thing that doesn't look evil on paper, but it hurts lives. Nora stared at him. You're not making sense. Ben's voice lowered. There was a place near the lake where people met. Not just friends. The powerful ones. The ones who ran things. They kept records. They kept secrets. Mara found proof. Names. Dates. Plans. Nora's grip tightened on the photo. How? She cleaned cabins around here, Ben said. She fixed houses, did odd jobs. People ignored her. That was their mistake. One day she found a small metal case under a loose floorboard in a boathouse. Nora remembered the note, look under the stairs. Her mouth went dry. A metal case. Ben nodded. Mara didn't understand it at first. But she knew it was important. And she knew it was dangerous. Nora's mind flashed again to the memory she had a moment ago. Cold air. Someone whispering. Don't look back. Where is it now? Nora asked. Ben's eyes met hers. That's the problem. It was here. Mara hid it in this house. Then the night they came, she had to run. Lena took you. Mara stayed behind to distract them. Nora's chest hurt. Did she survive? Ben's face showed the answer before his words did. They said she left, Ben whispered. They told everyone she ran away. But I never believed it. Nora felt tears rise again, and she hated how helpless she suddenly felt. If she didn't leave, Nora said, voice shaking, what happened to her? Ben looked down. I don't know exactly. But I know this. The day after, the house was searched. The boathouse was searched. People asked questions in ways that didn't sound like normal questions. Lena got scared and left town with you. She never came back. Nora's head spun. So Lena lied to me my whole life. Ben shook his head quickly. She didn't lie because she wanted to hurt you. She lied because she thought it would keep you alive. Nora stared at the lake again, trying to breathe. Then why am I here now? Why do I feel like this place pulled me in? Ben's eyes narrowed slightly. Because someone opened the story again. Nora's stomach dropped. What does that mean? Ben stepped closer, careful, not threatening. 2 weeks ago, someone broke into this house. The lock under the stairs was forced. But the box was still there when I checked, so they didn't find it. Or they didn't have time. Nora's heart jumped. They were looking for it. Yes, Ben said. And if they were looking for the box, they might also be looking for you. Nora stood up so fast the sofa creaked. Why would anyone look for me? Ben's voice turned serious. Because Mara's secrets connect to you now. Your name is on the box. Your photo is in the locket. If someone comes back for what Mara hid, they'll want to control the one person who might know where it is. Nora's hands shook. But I don't know where it is. Ben gave a small, sad smile. Maybe you don't. Yet. Nora's eyes narrowed. You said Mara found a case in a boathouse. Yes. And the note in my hand says look under the stairs. Use the key. Nora lifted the key. That led me to the box, not a case. Ben's shoulders stiffened. Then the box is step 1. Mara wouldn't hide everything in one place. Nora's thoughts clicked into place. The second floor. Ben looked at her sharply. What? Nora pointed upward. The stairs go up. I didn't go up. Mara might have hidden something upstairs. Ben hesitated. I wouldn't. The floors are weak. Nora's fear turned into something stronger. Determination. Anger. A need to know. I have spent my whole life feeling like something was missing, Nora said. Now I find a house with my name inside it. A note that speaks to me. A photo that proves I was here. I'm not walking away. Ben watched her for a long second. Then he nodded once. Okay, he said. But we do it carefully. One step at a time. They moved toward the stairs. Nora went first, holding the box under one arm, using her free hand to steady herself. The first step creaked loudly. She froze, and Ben held his breath too. The step held. Nora climbed another step, then another. Dust swirled in the air with every movement. Halfway up, she noticed something carved into the side rail. A tiny flower with 3 petals. The same flower as the locket. Nora's chest tightened. "Ben," she whispered. "Look." Ben's face went pale. "Mara's mark," he said softly. Nora continued up until she reached the second-floor hallway. The air up there was even colder. The doors were closed, and the darkness felt thicker. Ben lifted a small flashlight and clicked it on. The beam swept across the hallway, showing old family pictures, broken frames, and peeling wallpaper. Nora's eyes landed on one door that was slightly open. The same way the front door was slightly open. Ben spoke quietly. "That room was always locked." Nora took one step closer. "But it's open now." Ben nodded slowly. "Someone has been here." Nora's mouth went dry. "Maybe the person who broke in." Ben's voice dropped. "Or someone who never left." Nora reached the door and pushed it open. Inside was a small room that did not look like a bedroom. It looked like a workspace. Shelves filled with jars and tools. A desk covered in papers. A corkboard on the wall with strings pinned between photos and handwritten notes. Nora stepped in, eyes wide. The corkboard had one photo in the center, larger than the others. It was Nora's face. Not a child photo. A recent one. It looked like it had been taken from far away, without her knowing. Nora's stomach twisted. "That's me." Ben's voice went tight. "They found you." Nora's hands went cold. She turned to Ben, panic rising. "What do we do?" Ben stared at the board, then at the window. "We leave. Now." Nora grabbed the box, her mind spinning. She rushed toward the hallway, but stopped when she heard it. A car door outside. Then another sound. A slow knock on the front door below. Ben's eyes widened. He grabbed Nora's arm gently but firmly. "Stay quiet," he whispered. The knock came again, heavier this time. Then a voice, smooth and polite, called from downstairs. "Nora, I know you're here." Nora's breath caught. Her name, spoken like it belonged to the stranger. Ben leaned close, whispering fast. "Do not answer. Whatever you do." The voice continued, calm and certain. "We can do this the easy way. Come down with the box." Nora's knees felt weak. She looked at Ben, eyes full of fear. And she realized something terrifying. Whoever was downstairs did not just guess. They knew. Nora's heart felt like it was trying to break out of her chest. The voice downstairs was calm, almost friendly, but it carried something sharp underneath. It was the kind of voice that did not ask. It expected. Ben slowly pulled Nora back into the small workroom and gently closed the door. The wood creaked, and both of them froze. After a moment, the house stayed quiet. The voice downstairs spoke again. "I don't want to scare you, Nora. This does not have to be difficult." Nora pressed her hand over her mouth, forcing herself not to breathe too loudly. Her eyes searched the room fast. One window. Old shelves. No other door. Ben leaned close and whispered, "There is a back ladder behind the shelves. Mara used it to reach the roof." Nora nodded without speaking. Downstairs, footsteps moved across the living room. Slow. Confident. Like the person knew the house well. "I know about the box," the voice said. "I know what is inside. And I know who your real family was." Nora felt anger rise, cutting through her fear. Her real family. The words burned. The footsteps stopped under the stairs. Ben's face tightened. He quietly pushed one shelf aside, revealing a narrow ladder hidden in shadow. He motioned for Nora to go first. Nora held the box tight against her chest and climbed. Each movement felt loud, even though she moved as carefully as she could. The ladder led to a small opening in the ceiling. Ben pushed it open just enough for them to slip through. They emerged onto the roof. Cold air hit Nora's face. The lake spread out below, grey and heavy, reflecting the cloudy sky. From up here, The house looked even more tired, like it was leaning on the past to stay standing. They crouched low, moving slowly toward the back edge of the roof. Then the voice came again, closer now. You cannot hide forever, Nora. A loud crack echoed through the house. A door breaking. Nora flinched. Ben whispered urgently, we go to the boathouse. They slid down from the roof using the ladder on the back side of the house. Nora's shoes hit the soft ground, and she nearly fell. Ben steadied her. They ran. The path to the boathouse curved along the lake, narrow and overgrown. Nora's lungs burned as she ran, but she did not slow down. The box felt heavier with every step, like it carried the weight of every secret inside it. Behind them, a shout rang out. Stop. You're making this worse. They did not stop. The boathouse came into view, old and crooked, sitting at the edge of the water. One door hung loose, swaying slightly. Ben pushed it open, and they rushed inside. The smell of water and old wood filled the air. Light slipped in through gaps in the walls. The lake lapped softly beneath the floorboards. Ben slammed the door shut and slid a heavy beam across it. Nora leaned against the wall, gasping for air. Ben turned to her. Now listen to me. This is where Mara hid the second thing. Nora swallowed. The metal case. Yes. Nora looked around wildly. Where? Ben pointed to the floor near the water. Under the boards. Right there. Nora knelt and began pulling at the loose plank. Her hands shook, but she forced them to work. The wood lifted with a groan. Underneath was dark water and something else. A small metal case, half hidden, chained to a beam. Nora's heart raced. This is it. Ben reached down and broke the old lock with a tool he pulled from his jacket. The chain snapped. Nora lifted the case out of the water. It was cold and heavier than the box. The boathouse door shook suddenly. Open the door, the voice called. You are standing on very thin ground. Nora looked at Ben, panic flashing again. What do we do? Ben's eyes were steady. We finish this. Nora opened the case. Inside were documents sealed in plastic. Photos. Lists of names. Dates. Places. Proof of meetings, payments, and plans that should never have existed. Everything Mara had written about was real. Nora's hands trembled as she flipped through them. These people, she whispered. They are powerful. Yes, Ben said. And scared. The door shook again, harder. The beam cracked. The voice outside lost its calm. Last chance, Nora. Nora felt something change inside her. Fear turned into clarity. She remembered the memory again. Cold air. A woman holding her. A voice saying, do not look back. Mara had not run. Mara had stood her ground. Nora closed the case and stood up. I am done running. Ben looked at her with surprise and something like pride. Nora stepped closer to the door and spoke loudly enough to be heard. I know what you are hiding, she said. And I am not giving it to you. Silence followed. Then the voice changed. You think anyone will believe you? Nora's grip tightened on the case. They will. Because this time, I am not alone. She pulled out her phone and raised it. The screen was already recording. Ben added, and because we already sent copies. The silence stretched. Then footsteps backed away from the door. A car engine started in the distance. Nora waited, heart pounding, until the sound faded. Only then did she sink to the floor, shaking. Ben exhaled slowly. It's over. Nora shook her head. No. It's just starting. Days later, the lake was no longer quiet. News spread fast. Investigations opened. Names fell. People who once controlled everything vanished from power. The documents spoke louder than threats ever could. Lena came to the lake after Nora called her. They stood by the water in silence for a long time. I wanted to tell you, Lena said finally, tears in her eyes. I was just so afraid. Nora reached for her hand. I know. And Mara, Lena whispered. She loved you more than anything. Nora nodded. I know that too. They placed fresh flowers by the lake where the house once stood. The old house was gone now, taken down piece by piece, but the truth remained. Nora did not leave again. She stayed by the lake, not to hide, but to remember. The secrets no longer owned her. She owned her story. And for the first time in her life, Nora felt whole.